Welcome to Whisper's Secrets. She reached for me at the corporate gala, but I whispered, not after what you did. Part 1. Her smile wasn't mine anymore. You don't ever forget the moment your wife becomes a stranger. Mine happened under champagne lights and designer heels, when she reached for my hand, and I stepped back like I was avoiding a flame. Let me take you back. Not to the gala, not yet. To the night I first heard her betrayal. It was quiet. Cold. The kind of night that makes you reflect even before the world starts tilting. We were at her parents' house, another polished dinner of passive-aggressive banter and obligatory family laughs. Emma slipped easily into that world, laughing with her brother, clinking wine glasses with her mother, smiling too wide at stories she'd heard a dozen times. I stayed in the background, supportive, silent, the husband she'd once adored. After dinner, I stepped outside for air. The back porch creaked under my weight as I leaned on the railing, watching the neighbor's golden retriever chase leaves in the wind. Inside, I heard soft voices through the glass, Emma's, light and effortless, and her friend Marcy's, sharp with curiosity. So, come on, Marcy laughed. Are you even faithful this time around? A pause. And then Emma's chuckle, casual, flippant, cruel. You know me. I'm not the kind to hold on to the past. She didn't know I was outside. She didn't think I could hear. And from that moment, I was no longer her husband. The beginning of the end. I didn't confront her that night. I didn't ask questions or throw accusations. Instead, I watched. In bed, she slid in next to me like nothing had happened, her skin warm from the shower, her breath scented with mint and wine. She hummed softly under her breath, the same way she used to when she was happy. But her hum felt like it belonged to someone else now. Someone who didn't lie. Someone who wasn't rewriting our marriage in whispers and coded glances. I stared at the ceiling while she scrolled her phone beside me, the screen dimmed, the device turned away. It was all different now. What the silence showed me. She became a study in subtle betrayals. The perfume she wore on Thursdays but never Fridays. The gym bag that smelled like perfume instead of sweat. The late meetings with no email trails. The nervous smiles when her phone buzzed and I looked too long. Emma thought she was a magician, hiding affairs behind calendar invites and professional excuses. But I wasn't just watching anymore. I was recording. Emotionally. Mentally. Eventually, legally. The phone. One morning before dawn, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Emma, fast asleep. The message preview was all I needed. From Marcus, corporate PR. I can't stop thinking about that night. Let me know if the coast is clear. I didn't touch the phone. I didn't need to. I had enough. I walked into the kitchen and made 2 cups of coffee, hers with cinnamon, mine black. When she came down, she smiled and kissed my cheek like always. She had no idea she'd already lost me. The notebook. That day, I bought a leather-bound journal. Not for rants. For records. I wrote down every moment that confirmed the truth. Dates. Times. Texts. Phone patterns. Her movements. What she wore when she was trying too hard. What she said when she didn't want questions. She was still sleeping in our bed, but emotionally, she had already left. And so had I just hadn't packed yet. The evidence of emptiness. One afternoon, while dusting the living room, something she used to do until she stopped caring, I found a business card under the couch cushion. Momentum PR. Minimalist. Expensive. No name. I Googled it. Boutique creative firm. Branding. Off-site strategy. Flashy website. Big promises. And on their team page? Marcus Bennett, Director of Strategic Image. Smiling. Young. Ambitious. The man texting my wife before sunrise. The spiral tightens. That week, Emma mentioned a branding retreat, off-site for days. I nodded. Asked if she needed help packing. She smiled too wide too fast. No, I've got it. Just work stuff. I watched her leave. Then I opened the GPS tracker I'd placed in her bag the night before. Not to control her. To confirm. She never went near the retreat hotel. She drove to a rental condo by the lake. One listed on Marcus's Instagram just a week earlier. Same furniture, same lamp, same sunset-stained window. She posted nothing. But he did. Just a drink on the railing. And a caption. Silence never tasted this sweet. Her mistake was assuming I'd always stay silent. The following Monday, I called my lawyer. Her name was Raina. Sharp, professional, discreet. I handed her the notebook. She read silently. Page after page. This is clean, she said. Too clean? No, she smiled. Clean like a surgical blade. We made a plan. No screaming. No public scenes. Just facts. Proof. And timing. The gala invitation. 2 weeks later, Emma excitedly waved an envelope at me. Her firm was hosting a corporate gala, high-end, black tie, mandatory for partners. Come with me, she said. I hesitated. She took my hand. I want us to be seen together, she said. I nodded. Smiled. Told her I'd get my suit dry cleaned. That night, I sat at the kitchen table. I laid out her dress, her heels, her matching clutch. I made sure everything was perfect, the illusion intact. Because the gala wasn't just a party. It was her curtain call. And when she reached for me on that dance floor, under golden lights and 100 watching eyes, I would lean in, smile, and whisper, "Not after what you did." Part 2, the Gala of Goodbyes. She thought the evening would polish her image. What she didn't know was that I came dressed for war, not photographs. The gala was held at the Valencia, one of those hotels where the chandeliers cost more than a car, and even the hallway carpet felt smug. Every wall was lined with gold-accented mirrors. Every guest sipped from glasses tall enough to hide behind. Emma glided beside me like nothing was broken. Like we weren't two strangers duct-taped together by routine and public perception. She looked flawless, navy dress hugging every calculated curve, hair pinned like a magazine cover, confidence wrapped around her like perfume. I wore my best suit. Not because I wanted to impress her, but because I wanted to look sharp enough to cut if needed. We arrived under the canopy of white lights, cameras flashing, her coworkers greeting us like royalty. She introduced me to a few of her colleagues. Her grip on my arm was firm. Territorial. Possessive. It was all for show. But that was fine. Because I had a show of my own to finish. Enter Marcus. He arrived 10 minutes later. I saw him before she did. Slick suit. Subtle smirk. Holding a drink like it was a prop. He floated through the room with practiced charisma, stopping for hugs and handshakes. And then his eyes found us. Her. She turned and smiled, too fast, too wide. That smile used to be mine. Now it was evidence. He didn't walk over. He nodded once. She nodded back. They thought they were discreet. But I wasn't watching as her husband. I was watching as her consequence. The performance begins. Dinner was elegant. Fake laughs and tiny courses. Clinking silverware and slow jazz in the background. The kind of setting that made betrayal feel almost tasteful. Emma leaned in, whispering little jokes, brushing her fingers against my arm. She was reclaiming something. Trying to. Hoping my silence was permission. What she didn't realize was that I wasn't protecting her anymore. When dessert arrived, I excused myself. Walked down the corridor and texted Raina, my lawyer. Me, everything in place? Raina, yes. Server confirmed. Drop scheduled for midnight. Me, execute. The digital trigger. At 12 a.m., 3 emails were set to go out. To Emma's company's compliance officer. To Momentum PR's HR director. To Marcus himself. Each email contained a PDF of GPS logs from the weekend. Branding retreat. Screenshots of the messages he sent from his work number to Emma's phone. A photo, low resolution, but clear, of him shirtless at the lake house patio, pulled from his own Instagram story archives. A timeline of their communications cross-referenced with internal policies from both firms. It wasn't emotional. It was a case file. A digital wrecking ball. Dancing toward the edge. Back at the gala, the lights dimmed and the band shifted to something slow and cinematic. Emma touched my wrist. "Dance with me?" Her eyes glimmered. Not love. Not warmth. Fear. She was trying to hold something together. Maybe her reputation, maybe herself. I stood. Took her hand. Led her onto the floor. The music wrapped around us like memory. For a moment I let her rest her hand on my chest. For a moment I remembered what loving her used to feel like. And then, as we turned slowly under the gold glow of the chandeliers, I leaned in, close enough that no one else could hear. And I whispered, "Not after what you did." Shock, realization, collapse. She froze mid-step. "What?" she breathed. I stepped back. Her hand lingered, then dropped like dead weight. She stared at me. Eyes wide. Lips parting. Reaching for a denial, something clever, something soothing. I didn't give her the chance. I turned and walked off the dance floor. People were watching now. But I didn't care. Let them wonder. Let them whisper. Let the unraveling begin. 30 minutes later, as the gala wound down, Emma's phone buzzed. Once. Twice. Then again. She checked it at the coat check counter, just behind the velvet curtain. I watched her face transform. Shock. Then panic. Then devastation. Marcus approached her, pulling her gently aside. Their voices were low, but their gestures weren't. She looked at him like he just dragged her into the ocean. He looked at me. Eyes wide with dawning horror. I raised my glass across the room in a silent toast. And mouthed 2 words. Checkmate. Part 3. The fall you watched in silence. You don't have to scream to ruin someone. Sometimes you just give them a mirror and let the world do the rest. The night after the gala was quiet. Not outside, the streets were alive with late-night cabs and fading music, but in our house, silence pulsed like a second heartbeat. Emma didn't speak. Not when we left the venue. Not during the car ride home. Not when we stepped into the living room where our framed wedding photos still hung by the doorway like a mockery. She went straight upstairs, heels clicking against the hardwood like accusations. I followed 5 minutes later, calm as ever. My bag was already packed in the closet. I didn't need to yell. Didn't need to say a word. The bomb had already gone off. The morning after, I woke to the sound of sobbing. Emma was sitting on the edge of the bed, face in her hands, phone lit up beside her. Emails. Notifications. Suspensions. The digital fallout had begun. She looked up when I stirred. Eyes red. Mascara streaked. She tried to speak, but I held up a hand. Don't, I said. She swallowed hard. You don't understand. No, I said. You don't. And with that I got dressed, grabbed my bag, and left. The world reacts. By midday, Momentum PR had removed Marcus from their website. Emma's firm issued a bland but clear internal statement about an employee under investigation for ethical violations. The Reddit post I never claimed but conveniently surfaced had hit 40,000 upvotes. The screenshots, the lake house, the text messages, the calendar overlap, were being picked apart like a courtroom trial in real time. People guessed. Speculated. And Emma? She panicked. Her messages. The text started that evening. Emma, Carter, please, can we talk? I didn't mean for it to get this bad. I thought we were falling apart. I thought you didn't care anymore. I messed up. I know that. But we can fix this. I didn't reply. She wasn't messaging out of love. She was messaging out of fear. She hadn't apologized. She'd only tried to control the consequences. The legal front. Raina, my lawyer, moved fast. The divorce papers were drawn, clean and fireproof. No alimony. I kept the house. She could have the downtown condo she'd consulted, in assets split 70 to 30 in my favor. A clause sealing the notebook I'd written, the original timeline of her deception, unless she contested anything. We served it on a Thursday afternoon. She called immediately. I let it ring. Then she texted. Emma, you're going to ruin me. I replied. Me no. You already did that. I just made sure you couldn't pretend otherwise. Marcus cracks. It was Marcus who broke first. 2 days after his removal from Momentum, he went live on Instagram, a blurry, badly lit video, shirtless, rambling. I didn't know she was married. She said they were basically done. She said, look, this was personal, not corporate. This is being blown out of. He ended it mid-sentence after the comments were flooded with screenshots. Public image torched. He deleted his socials the next day. The man who bragged about strategic reputation control was now hiding behind lawyers. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt done. Emma's last attempt. She showed up at my office. Uninvited. Unannounced. Reception called. She says she's your wife. I stared at the phone for a long time before answering. Tell her she's mistaken. I hung up. 5 minutes later, my assistant brought me a note, handwritten, folded carefully. I never stopped loving you. I just stopped recognizing myself. I let the attention replace the affection. I thought I could have both. I lost everything instead. I crumpled the note. Tossed it in the trash. Love isn't a license to betray. And remorse isn't redemption. That weekend, I moved the last of my things to a new apartment, smaller, quieter, mine. On the way out of the old house, I passed the living room shelf. One framed photo remained. Emma and me. Wedding day. Laughing at something I couldn't even remember. I stared at it. Then turned it face down. My phone buzzed as I walked out. A message from her. Emma, I just wish you'd said something earlier. Maybe I wouldn't have gone so far. I typed, then paused. And deleted everything. Then sent. Me, you always had a choice. You just thought I'd never walk away. Part 4. The cost of her silence. She thought I wouldn't leave. She was wrong. But what really stunned her was that I didn't look back. Moving out wasn't an escape, it was a statement. No drama. No announcement. Just motion. I boxed the past without labeling it, loaded it into the back of my car, and drove until the skyline in the rearview felt like someone else's memory. The apartment I moved into was modest. No marble counters, no designer furniture, no curated Pinterest vibe like our old house had. But it was mine. And for the first time in years, I could breathe in a room without calculating how I was being watched. The fallout expands. Raina called me the following Tuesday. Her firm is caving. Caving how? They're preparing to quietly sever her contract. No formal termination. No lawsuit. Just a slow freeze. She'll be iced out before she even understands it's happened. And the PR agency? Marcus is still scrambling. A minor investor pulled out. They're bleeding reputation faster than they can hire a brand repair firm. I didn't respond. I didn't need to celebrate. Because this wasn't about victory. This was about truth getting oxygen. The friends who never were. You'd think people would choose sides when a marriage cracks open in public. But they didn't. Most people just drifted. Friends we used to host for wine nights went silent. A few sent polite messages. Thinking of you. Hope you're doing okay. 1 or 2 reached out in person, then realized they didn't know what to say when I didn't cry or rage, just sat there and answered their questions with too much clarity. But Emma? She was the one who truly felt it. Coworkers ghosted her. Mutual friends stopped tagging her. Even her family, especially her older sister, backed away when the screenshots made it to someone's WhatsApp group. She was still wearing the mask. But there was no one left clapping for the performance. The final attempt at control. 3 weeks after I moved out, I received an envelope. No return address, just my name in handwriting that used to spell I love you. On birthday cards. Inside was a letter. Asterisk. Carter. There's no way to undo what's been done. I know that. But I want to explain something I should have told you a long time ago. I felt invisible. Not unloved, just unseen. You were always steady, always there. But somewhere along the way, I became a background character in my own life. Marcus made me feel like I had a story again. It wasn't about sex. It was about being someone vibrant. Someone wanted. That doesn't excuse it. It just explains it. I'm sorry. Not for the consequences. For the cowardice. Asterisk. I folded the letter once, then again, until it couldn't be read anymore. And I slid it into the fire pit on my balcony. The apartment light. There was a light across from mine. Directly across the narrow alley, on the third floor, a warm yellow glow that came on around 6:30 each night. Sometimes I saw someone cooking. Other times, just a silhouette sitting with a book. No drama. No shouting. Just stillness. And I realized something painful and pure. I had no idea what peace looked like, because I'd never had it before. Emma wasn't the beginning of my grief. She was the conclusion of all the parts of me that tolerated quiet erasure. And now? I had a chance to choose differently. The dinner that didn't happen. Emma tried again. A simple message. Emma, dinner? One time. No pressure. Just to talk. I read it 3 times. Not because I was considering it, but because I wanted to see how it felt to say no. And it felt like freedom. Me, you had hundreds of dinners. You wasted them. I don't owe you one more. No response. None expected. A week later, I received one final email from Raina. Subject: divorce finalized, case closed. Attached were the final terms. Clean. Bulletproof. Signed. Emma had agreed to everything. No challenge. No appeal. Just a signature. At the very bottom of the email was Raina's last note. Most people drag these things out because they're still trying to be heard. She stopped talking because she finally understood she was never the victim of the silence. She was the one who created it. I closed the laptop. Looked at the window across the alley. That light was on again. And I realized tomorrow would be my first full day of life without her in it. Part 5. After the fire, silence blooms. You think revenge will feel like a roar. But when it's real, when it's complete, it sounds like peace. The morning after the divorce was finalized, I did something simple. I made coffee. No rituals, no extra mugs on the counter. Just one cup. One chair. One sunrise creeping gently across my small kitchen like it was congratulating me. I didn't think about Emma. I didn't check her socials. I didn't replay the hurt. I just drank. And for the first time in years, the silence wasn't heavy. It was mine. Life in real time. Grief isn't loud. It's subtle. It hides in muscle memory. In the way your hand twitches to text someone who isn't yours anymore. In the instinct to say, we, instead of I. But eventually, the muscle forgets. Eventually, you stop expecting the door to open at 7:12 p.m. You stop setting the second plate. You stop hoping for the old version of a person who no longer exists. That's what happened to me. Not all at once. But one unreturned memory at a time. Emma's ghost. She didn't message again after I rejected dinner. Didn't show up at my new place. Didn't send any more handwritten apologies, desperate texts, nostalgic songs. But I saw her once, by accident. Grocery store. She was standing in the frozen aisle, holding a bag of blueberries, staring like she wasn't sure why she picked it up. She looked thinner. Not unwell, just stripped down. Her hair was tied in a low knot. No makeup. No designer coat. No curated posture. She looked like someone trying to remember who they were before they were caught pretending. She didn't see me. And I didn't approach her. That part of the story was over. Marcus' final fall. The lawsuit went through. Quiet, contained, sealed, but decisive. Reyna made sure of it. Marcus paid a settlement. He lost board approval for his next agency. The industry whispered for a while, then moved on without him. And as for Momentum PR? The name still exists. But the shine is gone. Like a glass cracked from the inside. What I took with me. I kept the notebook. Not to reopen the wounds, but to remember the man I became when I stopped tolerating them. Page after page, I could trace my own awakening, not just from her betrayal, but from the life I'd built to avoid being alone. Because that was the scariest part, wasn't it? It wasn't just losing her. It was realizing I'd been shrinking myself to fit inside her comfort. A new kind of quiet. The apartment stayed mine. The routines got easier. I started reading again. Running again. Sleeping in without guilt. Cooking for one, and liking it. And sometimes, when the night got too still, I'd open the balcony doors, let the air in, and sit with my journal. Not to document pain, but to mark moments of clarity. Of peace. Of movement. One last letter. 6 months after the divorce, I got a letter. Mailed. No return address. But I knew the handwriting. I almost didn't open it. But I did. Asterisk Carter. You were the best man I've ever known. I just didn't know how to live in a life that quiet. I confused stillness with emptiness. I needed noise. Attention. Flashes. I chased light and called it warmth. I know now that peace isn't boring. It's brave. You gave me that. And I destroyed it. Asterisk. I hope you build something better. Something still. Something true. I read it once. Then placed it in the fire. Not out of spite. But because some things are only meant to be said, not saved. The end of her story, and the start of mine. People think revenge is a scream. That it's dramatic. Loud. Chaotic. But real revenge is leaving. Real revenge is healing where they hoped you'd stay wounded. It's waking up without checking your phone. It's smiling at a stranger and not thinking about who came before. It's walking away from the explosion with clean hands and quiet breath. And it's whispering, not to her, but to yourself. You did the right thing. You survived. You started over. Thank you for being with us on Whisper's Secrets. If you enjoyed this, leave a like, drop a comment, and be sure to subscribe. The secrets are waiting to be revealed. See you soon.